Welcome to Shadows and Gods, where ancient myths rise from the darkness and legendary worlds come alive. Today we uncover the misunderstood story of Hades, the god who ruled not with cruelty but with order, duty, and unshakable purpose. Picture the god Hades. What do you see? A fiery, devil-like figure with horns and a wicked temper, scheming in the dark to overthrow his brother Zeus? Popular culture, from epic movies to animated classics, has hammered this image into our minds. Hades, the ultimate bad guy of Greek mythology. But what if everything you thought you knew about the Lord of the Dead was wrong? What if that picture is a total misunderstanding? A modern invention that twists the story of one of the most dutiful and complex gods in the entire pantheon. The truth is, Hades wasn't evil. He wasn't the devil. In fact, he was arguably the most principled and least problematic of his powerful brothers. He was just really good at his job. And his job was one of the toughest in the cosmos. To really understand Hades, we have to go back to the beginning. He was the firstborn son of the Titans, Cronus and Rhea. But thanks to his father's habit of swallowing his children to prevent a prophecy, he was also the last one to be freed. This makes him both the oldest and the last emerging sibling in a strange mythological paradox. After a brutal 10-year war, the Titanomachy, Hades fought alongside his brothers, Zeus and Poseidon, to defeat the Titans and claim the cosmos for themselves. So, how did they divide the universe? Not by age, not by strength, but by pure luck. The three brothers drew lots. Zeus, the youngest, drew the skies and became king of the gods on Mount Olympus. Poseidon drew the seas, becoming the unpredictable master of the oceans. And Hades drew the Underworld, the vast, unseen realm of the dead. This wasn't a punishment or an exile. It was a fair division of power. Hades was one of the big three, a god with immense authority. His name literally means the unseen one, a fitting title for the king of a kingdom invisible to the living. He was a sovereign ruler who had to manage every single soul that passed from the world above. His withdrawal into his realm wasn't a sign of malice, but of unending responsibility. He had a universe to run, just like his brothers. His was just a lot darker. Part of why Hades gets such a bad rap is because we completely misunderstand his kingdom. When we hear Underworld, our modern minds jump straight to the Christian concept of hell, a fiery pit of eternal torture for the wicked. But the Greek underworld, also called Hades, wasn't that at all. It was simply the destination for all mortal souls after death. Good, bad, or indifferent. It was a vast, structured, and orderly kingdom, not some chaotic abyss of suffering. When a soul arrived, it was ferried across the river Styx by Charon. Guarding the gates was Cerberus, Hades' massive three-headed dog. And while Cerberus was a fearsome guardian, some myths suggest Hades was a real dog lover. There's even a fun linguistic theory that the root of Cerberus could mean spotted. So the terrifying hellhound of myth might have just been named Spot. Once inside, souls were judged and sent to their final resting place. Most people ended up in the Asphodel Meadows, a neutral, shadowy land. It wasn't paradise, but it wasn't punishment either. Just a quiet, gray existence. For the truly wicked, there was Tartarus, a deep abyss for eternal punishment. And for heroes and the virtuous, there was Elysium, a paradise where honored souls enjoyed eternal bliss. Hades presided over this entire system. He was a king and an administrator, ensuring the laws of the cosmos were upheld. He wasn't personally torturing souls. That job fell to the Furies. Hades was the stern but fair ruler who made sure the system worked. His realm wasn't evil, it was just inevitable. Another huge point of confusion is mixing up Hades and Thanatos. Hades was the god of the dead, the king who ruled over souls in his realm. Thanatos was the god of death, the gentle, non-violent personification of the act of dying itself. Here's an easy way to think about it. Thanatos was like the Greek Grim Reaper, the one who showed up when your time was up to guide you to the underworld. Hades was the king waiting to receive you. He didn't cause death. He didn't decide who died or when. His job was to make sure the dead stayed dead, keeping the cosmic balance between life and death. This distinction is everything. Hades wasn't some malevolent force trying to end lives. He was a passive ruler, a warden, a manager. People feared him because he represented the one thing mortals could never escape, their own mortality. In fact, Ancient Greeks were so afraid of attracting his attention that they rarely said his name, using nicknames like Clymenus, meaning the renowned, or Eubuleus, the good counselor. They feared death itself, not the god who had dutifully managed it. No story has damaged Hades' reputation more than his abduction of Persephone. And let's be clear, kidnapping her is undeniably problematic. But the full myth reveals a relationship that became one of the most stable and balanced in the entire Greek pantheon. The story goes that Hades, the lonely king, fell in love with Persephone, the vibrant goddess of spring. In a rare trip out of his domain, he saw her in a meadow and was captivated. But he didn't just snatch her. He first went to his brother Zeus, who was also Persephone's father, to ask for her hand in marriage. Zeus, ever the drama stirrer, not only said yes, but actively helped plan the abduction. So as Persephone reached for a flower, the earth split open, and Hades emerged in his chariot, taking her down to be his queen. Her mother, Demeter, goddess of the harvest, was so devastated she plunged the world into an endless winter, threatening to starve humanity. Zeus finally had to step in and sent Hermes to negotiate. Hades agreed to let Persephone go, but before she left, he offered her a few pomegranate seeds. By eating them, she was bound to the underworld forever. The compromise? Persephone would spend like part of the year on Earth with her mother, bringing spring and summer. The rest of the year, she would return to rule by Hades' side, marking the arrival of fall and winter. This is how the ancient Greeks explained the seasons. But in the underworld, Persephone wasn't a prisoner. Hades didn't just make her his wife, he made her his equal. He placed her throne right next to his, a symbol of shared power that was incredibly rare among the gods. She wasn't a side note. She was the respected and formidable queen of the underworld, and while their story started with force, it evolved into a true partnership. Persephone grew into her power, becoming a confident ruler with Hades as her devoted partner. If you want to see how unfairly Hades has been judged, just look at his brothers, Zeus and Poseidon. While they were worshipped, their personal lives were a chaotic mess of infidelity and cruelty. Zeus, the king of Olympus, was a serial cheater whose myths are basically a catalog of affairs. Poseidon was violent and temperamental, known for causing earthquakes and storms. Both constantly meddled in mortal affairs, usually with disastrous results. And what was Hades doing during all this drama? He was in the underworld, doing his job. He was a stickler for the rules. Of the three brothers, Hades was by far the most faithful. While a couple of minor myths link him to nymphs named Minthe and Luke, these stories are tiny footnotes compared to the endless chaos caused by his brothers. He didn't plot to overthrow Zeus. He wasn't interested in petty squabbles. His focus was on his kingdom. While his brothers were the popular jocks basking in glory despite being terrible people, Hades was the quiet, misunderstood loner judged simply because his job creeped everyone out. Hades rarely left his realm, but his interactions with mortals who ventured there show he was a ruler of laws, not a monster. The most famous example is Orpheus and Eurydice. When Orpheus traveled to the underworld to beg for his wife back, he played a song so sad it made Hades and Persephone weep iron tears. Moved with compassion, Hades agreed to let Eurydice go on one condition. Orpheus had to walk ahead and not look back until they reached the sunlight. Hades operated on rules, not cruelty. It was Orpheus's doubt, not Hades, that ruined the deal. Even with heroes, Hades was surprisingly reasonable. When Heracles showed up for his 12th labor to capture Cerberus, Hades didn't fight him. He simply gave permission on the condition that Cerberus wasn't harmed and was returned afterward. Hades was stern, and his laws were absolute, just like death itself. He punished those who tried to cheat the natural order, like Sisyphus, who was forced to roll a boulder for eternity. But this was justice, not sadism. He upheld the balance that kept the universe functioning. The ancient Greeks didn't just fear Hades, they also respected him as the god of hidden wealth. All precious metals and gemstones are found deep within the earth, which is why one of his names was Plauton, meaning the wealthy one. It's the same root as the word plutocracy. Hades wasn't just a god of endings, he was a god of hidden potential and prosperity beneath the surface. So, is Hades the villain we've all been led to believe? The myths say no. He wasn't a devil, and he wasn't evil. Hades was a god who drew the short straw, got the most thankless job in the cosmos, and still did it with a dedication his flashier brothers never managed. He was a just, if severe, king who maintained the fundamental balance of the universe. His kingdom wasn't hell. His marriage became a partnership, and his focus was always on his duty. Hades isn't a villain. He's a reminder that not all darkness is wicked, and not all light is kind. In the oldest myths of our world, he stands as the quiet force that keeps everything in balance. Unseen, unwavering, and absolutely essential.